This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
I was at a chasana tonight. Had to go and visit somebody's chasana, Talmud of mine. I walk into the chasana, a fellow comes up to me and he says, Shalom Aleichem. I'm looking at him like, I know you? Then he goes, Mommy, she gives me such a hug. Wow, I'm so happy that I met you. I'm so sorry. It happens to me all the time. I meet people like, I'm not sure who the guy is. I try to figure out for like a few minutes. Eventually I normally get it. This guy just didn't work. Who are you? So then he says to me, what do you mean? I watch all your shiurim on Torah anytime. It's unbelievable. My kids are watching it. I'm watching it. This one's watching it. But I can't believe, I used to be able to hide myself. I have everything on audio share. And you listen, nobody knows what I look like. Now all of a sudden, there's a picture of me up there. Now I have a problem. Rabbi say yoschos. Okay. Let's speak tonight a very important topic. A very, very important topic. Something which I believe you can take back with you over the summer and Be'ez Hashem for the rest of your lives. It's a tremendous yesod. I heard it once a number of years ago, and it's something which I think it's worth repeating. There's a wonderful pasuk in Devarim Perek Yud Beis, pasuk Yud Zayin. The pasuk says as follows: Lo yisuchal le'echol bisharecha, ma'aseh degoncha v'siroshcha v'yisarecha v'chulei. The pasuk over here is discussing ma'aseh sheni and other items as well. Various items that cannot be eaten in certain places and must only be eaten in the Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim and cannot be taken out in any shape or form of Yerushalayim. And it's interesting, in the Rishonim note the lashon of the pasuk, lo yisuchal. Rashi says, has one pshat over here, lo yisuchal, but I'd like to concentrate on the Maral. There's a beautiful Maral which I believe can teach us a tremendous lesson for the rest of our lives and how we view life. The Maral says as follows: why does it say lo yisuchal? Why does it say lo yisuchal? It should have said lo soichal. Lo soichal means don't eat. What's lo yisuchal? You know what lo yisuchal means? Says the Maral, lo yisuchal means I can't. I cannot. The Maral wants to know the choice of the Torah's words. Instead of saying lo soichal, don't eat it out of Yerushalayim, the Torah picked instead to say lo yisuchal. What is lo yisuchal trying to teach me? What is the lesson of lo yisuchal that we can learn from? So the Maral answers that the actual yesod is lo yisuchal means not just you shouldn't and you couldn't. Lo yisuchal, says the Maral, is you cannot. I can't. And there's a lesson to be learned over here which I once heard as follows, that the Maral is explaining as follows. The Maral is saying that I might have thought, a person that can go to the Beis Hamikdash, a person that can go up to Yerushalayim, right? So, all right. So for him, he has to eat it over there. But let's say someone can't. Let's say he's not able to. He's not able to travel to that area. Whatever reason, family reasons, health reasons, whatever the reason may be. He's not able to say. So I would have thought, listen, if you can't manage, can't make it to the Beis Hamikdash, all right, you tried your best, didn't work, eat it wherever you want. Says the Maral, Pshat and Posek is lo yisuchal. You cannot. You're not able to. There's a metzias over here. And if the Maral is explaining, I would have thought like this. I would have thought it's a suggestion. It's like a nice thing to do. If you can, eat it in the Beis Hamikdash. Eat it in Yerushalayim. If you can't, no. It's not the worst thing in the world, is it? So the Maral is saying, oh no. The yesod of the Torah is, in the choice of the words of lo yisuchal, is teaching me such a lesson for the entire lifetime of a Jewish person. And that is that Eina Chanami, a person is supposed to go and up and eat kodshim, the Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim. But when it's impractical, when it doesn't work out, when it's difficult, when I don't understand it, whatever it may be, lo yisuchal. A person has to put this inside of his brain. This yesod of lo yisuchal. I'm going to explain to you what I mean. People make this mistake. And I can tell you from example, from people, we'll talk about stories and different ideas. But people have this idea, this religious Torah lifestyle. It's very nice when it's comfortable. It's nice when it sort of fits my, lifestyle, when it's easy, when I can go along with it. But when it gets a little bit difficult, and when it gets in my way of life, and in my fun that I want to have, well, it's probably okay. It's probably not the worst thing in the world. You hear these sorts of comments, right? People always say, if your rabbi can't find you a heter, get yourself a new rabbi. There's got to be a heter. There's always a way out. There's always a leniency. We can figure it out. Some loophole this way, some loophole that way. You know what the Torah is telling us over here? The Torah is telling us there's a way to look at the Torah. There's a way to look at the commandments of Hashem. Every mitzvah, every aveira. It's not a suggestion. This is something as a metzias over here. You know, I had a Hasidic person just recently got married. So he came to me recently and he said to me, listen, I have to admit to you, I've been going to a certain rabbi until now, but my wife said to me, I think it's time to change the rabbi. He's too machmir, go find somebody else. So he comes over to me and says, listen, I've heard you're the makel one, so I'd like you to be my rabbi. Will you be my rabbi? So he says to me, of course I said yes, but is that what we're looking for? Are we looking in every situation to find the way out? Is the Torah a book of suggestions, chas v'shalom? Is that what it's all about? This is tonight's discussion, Be'ez Hashem. Nowadays, there's so many svarim out there. Not even svarim, there's computer programs, right? You have it, there's one program that you can buy with, 40, 50, 60,000 svarim on it. It's bound to be someone that says it's mutter. I had a fellow who came to me, he had a series of Rosh Yeshiva. He had a problem with, I don't want to go into details exactly, maybe he's listening, so I have to be careful. But he had a certain situation, whatever it was a little bit of a sensitive situation. So he asked me the shayla, and I told him, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it, it's vadei osa. There's nothing I can do, it's forbidden, can't do anything about it. He calls me up a couple of hours later, says, Rabbi, I'm on Google right now. And you should know, I found this one and I found that one. He found all the craziest tshuvas of people that we don't even paskin like. But he found it online, so it must be okay. Some rabbi said it must be all right. And I said to him, this is not the Torah. It's not all about finding someone that says it's mutter. The Torah is a set of guidelines. The Torah is our mahalach of life. This chumash over here is our guidelines, the script to a happy and an easy lifetime. But unfortunately, people take it as it's difficult. And I'll keep it when it's easy, and it's great, and it's fun, and I can cope with it. But the moment it comes in my way, and this, by the way, often happens in the summer. It's all very nice being in yeshiva, Beis Medrash, Rebbeim, the best Rebbeim, you got good food, everything's great. And you go all of a sudden back. I think things get a little bit difficult. Minyanim get hard. It's hard to get up for a minyan. Mincha as well. In the middle of the day, I should go to mincha. Looking at this, speaking about that, listening to that. There's all sorts of things that go on. And if you have the right outlook of how you should view life, so you'll look at it in a different way, and hopefully it will save you from certain situations that may come your way. Okay, Rabbi Isai, let's continue. There's a Posek in Parshas Shemos, Perik Yutes, Posek of Chav Gimel. Hagbel Asahav V'Kidashtoi. Right before Klal Yisrael received the Torah at Har Sinai, the Rebbeinu Shalom told them, don't go up the mountain. Vayomer Moshe Hashem, Lo Yuchal Ha'om La'alois as Har Sinai. Lo Yuchal. They are not able. Rav Gifta Zatzal explained Pshat in this posuk, such a beautiful explanation. Listen to Rav Gifta's Pshat. Rav Gifta explained, what do you mean, Lo Yuchal? What, they're not physically able to go up the mountain? Of course they are. What do you mean? They could go up. They could run through the barges and the gate fences and whatever it is. But you know what Rav Gifta said? This is how a Jew has to look at the commandments of Hashem. This is how we have to look at the entire Torah. Every commandment. Every situation where we're told not to do something. It's not a suggestion. This is not like, if you can, try and do that. Oh no, the yuchal. You're not able to. The famous Meister, Rav Moshe Feinstein, Rav Moshe, God Lador, Kol HaTorah Kula, 400 times Shas, 300 times Shulchan Aruch. The man knew everything. And this was, the whole Klal Yisrael were looking at him and waiting for him, and he had shilas from all over the world, some of those serious shilas. And the Meister goes as follows, that when he was walking outside Shul, he was going out of Shul, there was another minyan obviously going on at the same time, and he got to a place, and he stopped. And all the people around Rav Moshe also stopped, and what's going on? And they saw, Rav Moshe pointed, there's someone davening Shmoyne Esrei there. Now, this is also halacha, by the way, which we have to discuss, because nobody knows this halacha, right? There's a halacha, by the way, in Shulchan Aruch. It's brought down again. Maybe Be'ez Hashem will find a scholar for it, right? If there's a scholar to get married, so maybe everyone will keep it, right? So there's a certain halacha in Shulchan Aruch. It's a Gemara, but it's also halacha in Shulchan Aruch, halacha l'maisa. Someone could base in Orach Chaim. The Shulchan Aruch says that if someone's davening Shmoyne Esrei behind you, you can't go back 3 steps, right? So everybody has the tirutzim, yeah, it's allowed because of this, that, and the other. Rav Moshe was the Gadol Hador. Klal Yisrael were waiting for him. Everyone needed him. And Rav Moshe said, there's a wall in front of me. You know why? Because Rav Moshe looked at this halacha as not a suggestion. It's like, if you can, try and do it, make yourself feel good. Rav Moshe learned this is a wall. There's a halachic wall in front of me that's stopping me from going further. I can't go any further. Can't do it. So Rav Moshe understood that a halacha is not just it's a metzius. It's something so choshev, and a person has to realize that as well. A bacher told me from a different place, he was filling out an application form. He was an older boy, he was filling out an application form for shidduchim. So how it works sometimes with the shadchan is the shadchan will give you a whole list of things, and you'll give them, you'll tell them, how old are you, what kind of hair do you have, what sports do you like, what color, what ice cream flavor do you whatever, all the situations, and she puts it in the computer and hopefully finds a girl that matches exactly the same, we hope. So he told me that one of the questions on the application form were, are you going to keep Taharas HaMishpacha? Right, the halacha is that negate to man and wife when you get married. He called me up, he says to me, Rabbi, I don't understand. I didn't know there was a choice in the matter. And I'm going to keep it. I didn't know there was a choice in the matter. It's not like you can choose what you want and what you don't want. That's not what it's about. We have to view the Torah as our life stream, as something that puts a metzius in the world that affects us. And we have to believe that as well, Rabbi Saleh. Suchal means you can't. Right? It's something very important. You have to realize as well, Maichas Asuras, right? Something treif. Imagine you have something treif. You have a good cheeseburger, you have a piece of basar v'chalav, a piece of treifa chaza, whatever it may be. You can't look at it as, the Torah tells me not to eat it. We have to look at it as poison. It's something that's poisoning our nefesh, it's poisoning our neshama, our soul. We put this thing in our mouth, it contaminates our entire body. This body that stood at House Sinai and accepted the Torah from the Rebbeinu Shalom and said, Nasav and Ishma, says the Gemara in Shabbos. It contaminates the blood in a spiritual way. But we have to understand them, we have to live it. It's so choshev. Touching something that's also on Shabbos, a piece of muktzah. He's probably, everyone has their terim. And imagine these people standing by Rav Moshe, they would say, well, there's a shtender there, and he can't see you, and there's a mechitza. There's always a terim, everybody said. We can always find loopholes. But that's not what religion is all about. That's not what we're looking for. If something is muktzah on Shabbos, it should be to you like a burning coal. It should be like something, I can't touch it. The Vilna Gaon, the Heilige Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon one time, for whatever reason it was, touched a shell of a nut on Shabbos, and he fainted immediately on the floor. Eventually, they gave him water, whatever it was, and they shook him up, and he stood up, and they said, Rebbe, what happened? And he said, I touched the shell, and he went down. It's like a joke, right? Like, come from the guy, come on, please, It's only a shell, come on. Like, what is it already? Oh, but to the Vilna Gaon, this was a piece of tray. This was a burning coal that burns a person's hands. He looked at it as a metzius. He looked at the Torah, the commandments, as something real. It's not a joke. It's not a list of laws. Try the best you can, live a great life, and come back to Shamayim whenever you're finished. That's not what it's about. It's about living a life of Torah. It's about understanding it. Judaism, people have this idea, it's like a tradition. It's like a nice thing to do. We'll do a traditional Seder night. And apparently one place, the second night Seder was so successful, they decided to do a third night Seder on the next year. It's like a tradition. Let's do it. My parents did it. Their parents did it. All the way back to the monkeys or somewhere, wherever it was that, started the human race or whatever you believe. It's a tradition. And unfortunately, there are people out there, there's so to speak, Jewish people out there that believe that way. It's a religion. Rabbi, leave me alone. I'm a very traditional Jew. My wife likes, candles on Friday night, before night, after night, whatever it is. We do the traditional things. You have to realize the Torah is teaching us over here. The mitzvah and aveira is a real thing. I wrote an article. They asked me to write an article in a publication that goes around the world. So I wrote a whole article by Pesach time, whatever it was. And I got a lot of comments back from certain people who said to me, how can you write such a thing? It's not nice. I got a heter from my Rov and I went to him and you wrote that it's not allowed, it's not in the other. And I wrote back to him, shtickle Torah. But basically what I was trying to tell him is, listen here, Judaism is not a product that we're trying to sell. We're not trying to make this as appealing and as fun as it possibly can be. That's not what we're trying to do. There's something over here that's real. And if you come close, you'll experience it and you'll taste it and you'll enjoy it. But it's not about making it fun and making it, appealing to the eye. And if that doesn't work for you, no problem. You don't have to do that one. If it's easy for you, all right, don't do it. You chas v'shalom. There's not one chelik of the Torah that we can do that. And you'll tell me, what do you mean? What do you mean? There's kulas, there's a b'shas adcha, there's a b'di'eved, certain hefsed meruba of a person in a situation of losing loads of money will be makel. Yeah, there's rules. There's rules to these things, There's rules. You can't just do whatever you want. People often say, no, I can't live this way. It's so difficult. You learn Hilchos Shabbos. You're like, how am I going to keep Shabbos? It's impossible. I can't do it. So either someone's teaching you wrong, you don't know the halachas. I have to tell you, Baruch Hashem, I know Hilchos Shabbos. It's beautiful. Shabbos is beautiful. It's a beautiful, relaxing day of spending time with the family, spending time with the Rebbeinu Shalom. You don't want us to think of it stressful. It's beautiful. Number one, you're obviously thinking of it the wrong way. Number two, obviously your idea of, I can't live this way, is obviously very, very different. The Rebbeinu Shalom would not create a world, or you in this world, if it was too difficult, and if it wasn't Gishmak. The answer is not to find the heter. There's a Mordecai letter that was written by the Chofetz Chaim. There was a convention of doctors that were getting together in Radin, somewhere in Europe, and the Chofetz Chaim heard about it, and he heard that their plan was to basically come up with some idea to make the yeshivas teach less Torah by saying it's not healthy, they're learning too much, looking at small text, they're not sleeping enough, they're not eating enough, all these reasons. And through that, they're going to hope to make a new law to say that, the yeshiva guys shouldn't learn all day. So the Chofetz Chaim wrote, and Rabbi, I'm translating to you and reading the letter, almost word for word. In honor of my friend, the wise Dr. Tzemach Shabbat, may his light shine. Listen to how the Chofetz Chaim addresses it. When I heard that there would be a convention of physicians and you are its chairman, I decided to send you my blessing. May the one who heals the Jewish sick send you his help and blessings from above. I understand that you are exceedingly concerned with the conditions in the yeshivas, so I decided to inform you. Thank heaven, the yeshivas are on a solid footing. The students are well provided for. They get 3 meals a day and 2 hours of leisure time. They're healthy and well, and I'm sure you'll be very happy to hear this. Your friend who esteems and who honors you in accordance with your great stature, Yisrael Meir HaKohen. P.S. I just wanted to remind his honor that the Torah tells us whoever touches the mountain will die. If touching the mountain is so deadly, how much more so the Torah itself. The Chofetz Chaim understood that if a person comes along and messes with the Torah, it's not a joke. It's a serious thing. It's a metzias. I want to give you 2 examples of what it means here in Shemaim, of really understanding. 2 beautiful examples. I'm learning now the halachas of Stam. Of Safras, how to write Aleph, how to write a base, and a Sefer Torah, and Tefillin, and Mezuzahs. So I'm going through a lot of interesting, hearing stories from different people. Listen to this. Just imagine the scene. Imagine the scene. You have a sefer, right? He's sitting in his little machsan in the middle basement over there. He's got a small room with a nice light, big table. He's got his quill, right? His kulmus. He's got his parchment there, and he's writing away. And he's writing, and he's writing, and he's writing. He's got mamish a whole mezuzah or a whole, set of tefillin, whatever it may be. It takes hours and hours and hours. As you can understand, the precision, it's an hour, it takes a long time. It's a real choshev job, takes a long time. Just imagine towards the end, something happens. The Aleph, maybe the Yud from the leg of the Aleph didn't touch. Maybe there's a Shaila. And he thinks to himself, there's nobody around. Who's going to know? Who's going to know? I'll fill it in. Nobody will know. The person will buy it. He'll think it's kosher, and it's treif gomer. It's posel gomer. And the person that wears the tefillin, Hashem Yirachman, make a bracha levatollah every single day. Who's going to know? When that person comes along and says, I can't use that parchment anymore. I can't do it. I can't do it. A sofer told me an unbelievable maisa. He said to me there were a group of sofrim sitting in a certain room where they used to write together tefillin and mezuzahs, whatever it was. And unfortunately, 2 of the sofrim were discussing Lashon Hara. They were speaking Lashon Hara. It wasn't nice. Our 3rd sofer was busy writing. He said, guys, please, I'm trying to write, a mezuzah over here, Kodesh HaKadoshim, right? Please stop speaking Lashon Hara. And they ignored him. And the Lashon Hara got deeper and more juicy. You know how it goes. You start speaking, it's like, Pringles. You're going to stop, you can't stop. You keep on going, right? The conversation gets more juicy. Who's going to stop and say, hey, it's Lashon Hara, I don't think we can continue that. Oh, come on, you can't do that, right? So Lamaisa. They continued. And this fellow kept on, he said, guys, I'm about to write Hashem's name. I'm writing Yud Kei Vav Kei. Please, do me a favor and stop. And do me a favor. Come on, stop. He said, from. What do you say? From. And he continued. He took the parchment that he was writing many hours, and he put it into the shemus. Put it into Geniza. He said, and someone said to him, but it's kosher. There's nothing in Shulchan Aruch that says it's possible. Nothing that says it's not kosher. So why did he do it? You know what he said? Would you like to have a mezuzah that was written Hashem's name whilst people are speaking Lashon Hara in the background? That's Yerushalayim. That is somebody that understood the laws of the Torah are real. It's a metzias. I get calls from women all the time. Busy cooking. And they're cooking chicken soup, and they're cooking this, and they're cooking that, and the milk falls into the meat, and the milk falls into the fish, and all sorts of things happen, right? So the men are out working in Kola, whatever it may be, so the women are calling up frantically, tell me what to do, what's going on, I know how to continue. What would stop this woman? I've never asked them, right? Because otherwise they'll think Rabbi, how could you ask such a question, right? How could you think of me this way? But what would stop a woman? She's cooking a big pot of chicken soup, and some milk flies in, and she thinks to herself, bottle b'shishim, not baranat. I've heard all these, Hebrew words that I don't really understand, but there's probably a head to it's probably all right, leave it alone, and continue as normal. What led this woman to call up a shaila and say, what do I do? You know what the answer is? Because she understands that the laws of the Torah are real. There's a metzias. When you eat treif, when you speak the wrong language, when you look at the wrong thing, it's a metzias. It goes into your body, it goes into your kishkas. You might not realize it, but it does. And if you look at Torah in that way, then it's a whole different mahalach. There's an unbelievable Chazon Ish. We're almost finished. There's an unbelievable Chazon Ish, Rabbi say. The Chazon Ish says like this. Says the Chazon Ish, listen to the metzias of the Heilige Torah. The Chazon Ish says that there's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch that if an animal falls from 10 tefachim, right? A tefach is about this much. If it falls from 10 of those, the animal is treif. It's treif, or at least it's choishes to be treif, whatever. Nefula. Halacha in Shulchan Aruch and Yerideh. Says the Chazon Ish, listen to this. The Chazon Ish said, imagine, you have two chickens. Two little chickens. Each of them fell from exactly the same height. They both jumped off, and they both fell. Each one is owned by a different owner. This one's owned by Reuven, this one's owned by Shimon. Wonderful. Reuven goes running off to his rabbi. He says, Rabbi, I don't know what to do. Come and help me. It fell off. I don't understand tefachim. Shimon goes to his rabbi. Rabbi, tell me what to do. 10 tefachim. So both of the rabbis come. Each rabbi standing, again, Rabbi say, same height. Each one is standing there. And Reuven's rabbi comes along, and he measures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? No, take measure. You measure it. Tefach is a tefach. 9.5 tefachim. He has big hands. 9.5. Kosher. No problem. Wonderful. Eat it and enjoy. Shimon over here, his rabbi had little hands. So when he measured 1, 2, 3, 4, he got 10.5. He said it's treif. Said the Chazon Ish, don't just think that if that happens, so all right, he says kosher, he says treif. Says the Chazon Ish, the metzias is that this animal here will die because it's treif, and this animal will live. Because that's the metzias of a psak. That's the metzias of a halacha. It changes. There's a murdik amaisa, the Teplika Rov. Listen to this. The Teplika Rov was one of the big gedolim here in Eretz Yisrael. So the Teplika Rov had a hanhaga. He had a certain custom that when someone would come to him with a shaila of, treifus, whatever it was, he would always taste from the food. In other words, if he said that a chicken or a cow is kosher, he wouldn't just say, yeah, it's kosher, go and eat it. He would say, I'd like some, please. To show them it's really kosher, right? So somebody came to him one time and asked him a shaila, and he said it's kosher. So he said, I'd like a piece now to put into my cholent for Shabbos day. So someone gave him a piece, and that was it. Shabbos morning, he gets a frantic knock on the door. Rabbi, don't eat the cholent. He's like, why? It's cooking away. It smells great. You want some? He said, no, don't eat it. I'll tell you why. So it wasn't very nice, he said, but I went yesterday, before I came to you, I went to the Kav Halacha. I went to one of the big Sephardi gedolim, and I asked them the shaila on this animal. And they passed it to me that it's treif. And I wasn't happy. No, maybe he didn't look, maybe he was too tired, all their time in the world. I went to you, and you told me it's kosher. So then I came home and said, nah, I'm really stuck, right? This rabbi told me it's kosher. This one said it's treif. Now I'm stuck. So I turned to the Rebbeinu Shalom finally, and he says, Rebbeinu Shalom, give me a sign. Send me a sign to tell me if it's kosher or not. He said, Rabbi, you'll never believe it. On Friday night, there was a fire in my house. But it was a small fire, exactly in the place where the meat was cooking. Nowhere else. It was unbelievable. He said, I've got a sign that it's treif. The Rebbe says, no. If I pass on that it's kosher, then it's kosher. And he continued to eat it. The sign. A psak is a psak. That's how it goes. It's unbelievable. We have to realize this. I'll tell you one more ma'ase of the Chazon Ish. This one's unbelievable. Ma'ase of the Chazon Ish is as follows. There was a Yid came to the Chazon Ish, and he told the Chazon Ish, he said, I live in Eretz Yisrael. The doctor told me I have a terrible illness. And the only way to cure my illness is to go to Europe somewhere, and hopefully it'll be cured over there. The Chazon Ish took this man, and he understood, what was going on. He got all the details from him. He said, listen, you don't want to leave Eretz Yisrael? He said, no, I don't want to leave Eretz Yisrael. I want to stay in Eretz Yisrael. But if that's the only way to save my life, what's the question? Of course, I have to go to Chutz La'aretz. So the Chazon Ish told him, and he thought about it a little bit. He said, listen here, your medical situation is a machloikes between the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah. To the Beis Yosef and the Ramah, it's discussed in Hilchos Treifus, right? It's discussed in Hilchos Treifus, and it's a machloikes between the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah. The Shulchan Aruch paskins lemaisa that it's kosher. The Ramah paskins it's treif. So he said, listen to what he says. You should stay in Eretz Yisrael and don't go there, because Eretz Yisrael is the place of the Shulchan Aruch. If you're here in Eretz Yisrael, the metzias of being here under the rulership of the Shulchan Aruch will make you kosher, because that's how he paskins. If you go to Chutz La'aretz, that's the place of the Ramah, and there he paskins that you're treif, and therefore chas v'shalom lo aleinu, what will happen to such a person? Rabbi Sai, what am I telling you this for? You know, I just have to tell you one last thing. There was a prison, there was a group of Russians that were taken, and they were taken into a prison, and there was a whole group of them, a whole chabura of them. They were in yeshiva, and they were taken to prison, and they were very, very distraught. Not about being in prison, but about being away from their Gemara, no Beis Medrash, no Sforim, nothing. The Russians didn't let anything inside. There was no chance of getting a sefer in there. They were stuck. What did they do? So they came up with an idea, and they said they requested 22 packages of cheese. And they figured out, and they sent a message, obviously in a certain way that no one would figure out what it was. They sent a message to their family, the Masechtas Makkas, right? The Gemara Makkas is 22 blat. Rip it into pages, you've got 22 pieces of paper. Wrap each piece of cheese in another page of Gemara, send it into the prison, the guards will have no idea what it is, and this way we'll have a whole Masechta Makkas, we'll be able to go through the whole Masechta. And they did it. And eventually they got their 22 packages, and these 22 packages had the wrapping of the Gemara, when the cheese inside, it was wonderful. And they learned Gemara. And at the time, again, that wasn't the Indian, but people are like, how can you do that? Gemara, it's not nice. It's a zilzul, it's disgraceful to use the Gemara as your cheese cover. Okay, we're not discussing the halachic aspect of it. You know what the answer was? Torah is our life. Yes, sometimes you might have to do that, but if you hold by Torah being your life, if Torah is the main essence of your being, so it's more important than anything else. Rabbi say, summer is approaching. People go certain places, people do certain things, people speak to different people. It's not like being in a contained area like we are now, the rest of the year. We have to learn one thing. The Maral says, Lo Yisuchal. Lo Yisuchal means not that it's a nice suggestion, you cannot. If the Torah says don't speak Lashon Hara, you can't. If the Torah says don't eat something, you can't. If the Torah says don't look at something, you can't. It's not that and there's a kula and a leniency because maybe and if and who. No. The Torah is a metzias. It's a metzias that we have to realize every mitzvah, every avera speaks to us. It's a part of our essence. It's a part of our being. The Torah, the Rebbeinu Shalom looked at the Torah and created the world. The world is the result of the Torah. And Be'ez Hashem, I give everybody here a bracha that we should be zaycha, that wherever we go, whatever we do, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be with us, and we should have this in mind wherever we go. Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.